This session continues where we left off with the Chief Executive of the Astana International Financial Center. How do you create an international financial center? What can be learned by Astana? What is happening here in Dubai? What is happening in other financial centers as well? And we're joined by Kerat Kelimbetov, welcome, who is the governor of the Astana International Financial Center, and also braving the traffic, Arif Amiri, welcome, Chief Executive Officer of DIFC Authority. I have to tell you, I already have one question, which I gave Mr. Amiri advance notice of. It says, how can Dubai and DIFC benefit from Astana? So that wasn't quite the way we thought this discussion would go, but what I'd like you to do is feel again that you can ping me with any messages, because this is quite a technical discussion, but a really important discussion about how you create an international financial center as part of a diversification process. Now, let me, in that case, ask immediately the governor, what state are you at in creating your financial center?
Thank you very much. I think it's a great opportunity. So I would like, first of all, to thank Chamber of Commerce to hosting us and to talk about AFC. AFC is quite similar to the AFC initiative, which was started 10 years ago. And December last year, in Kazakhstan, we adopted new law on Astana International Financial Center. Means that the work of the AFC already started. Many initiatives on place. We think that the full-fledged work of the Astana International Financial Center would be starting from January 1st next year. But we are preparing legislation. We are first time among CIS countries who actually implement English common law, and it's really great amendments to the legislation. The working language would be English, and many news on structural reforms, which we discussed in Kazakhstan recent 5-7 years, already would be implemented in this year, in next 12 months in Kazakhstan. So,
what do you have to work through in parallel, the sequencing? Where are you at on the different parallel tracks?
Yeah. I'm sure the audience here knows very well the governance structure of the DIFC Center, where they have DIFC Authority, DIFC Courts, DIFC Regulation Authority. And we also start to, first of all, we created right now AFC Authority, and we are in parallel now creating AFC Courts, international independent financial courts, which would be based on the work of international judges, and also the AFC Regulation Authority. So these are these two initiatives on place, and in parallel, I think that in the next 12 months, we will deliver these two.
But is this about bricks and mortar? Is it about infrastructure? How much of it is infrastructure at the moment? How much, therefore, the business of physically building it, but also the business of creating the right structure, which is not infrastructure, but the right quality of people?
Yeah. So let's say, in terms of the physical infrastructure for the, or let's say real estate development in terms of the particular offices place, is simple. You know probably that Astana will host Expo next year, Expo 2017. It's very similar to Dubai, which they hosted in 2020. And at the same time, the ideology of post-use of all the facilities of Expo is that mostly all this infrastructure will belong to the Astana International Financial Center. Your question is much broader. What kind of the friendly environment for the
I'm just talking about the organizational challenge
yes.
of doing something like this, just finding the skills apart from anything else, but making sure you've got the structure of personnel in place as well as having the buildings.
Yeah. So you know, Astana historically is already a business hub of the Central Asia, and Kazakhstan is 50% of GDP of Central Asian countries. So we are historically business hub, business and logistic hub of the Central Asia. And in these terms, I think Astana is a really very developed city with a good environment for the people. I mean, places for education, for hospitals, security issues, all of these questions already solved. And at the same time, we are much more simplifying all of these restriction, especially your questions at the morning was about the visa regime. So you know that till the end of this year, it will be new rules that for all the citizens of OECD countries and also UAE, Singapore, and Malaysia, it will be visa-free regime for the 30 days in Kazakhstan. So this is an initiative also in parallel with our legislation. At the same time, we, for all the participants of AAFC, we will provide 5 years long-term visa, participants, their families. So we are trying to create really very friendly environment for all of the people who will work. And the idea is actually to bring best practitioners who will work in regulation authority.
Not just Kazakh.
So the idea is to bring international, not just Kazakh, yeah.
Before I go to Mr. Amiri, what have you learned from everywhere else? Where have you been looking for inspiration, but also qualifications and yellow cards of what not to do?
Yeah.
No, I'll come to you first, Governor.
Okay. So before we started experience of many financial centers. So usually, so let's say we also try to see what was done in New York and in London, in Hong Kong.
But they've been there for decades and centuries.
Yes. Singapore closer, Shanghai closer, but we really focus on DAFC experience, which is the first country having own legislation, non-Anglo-Saxon rules, really implementing the British law. And it's the first country who really show great example how to diversify the economy and how to really create, let's say, global city. And I think so these are many admire experience, and especially this, how brave they bring experts to the government, to different government bodies, to the different regulation authorities. So we choose also follow this way.
Right, let me go to Mr. Meri. Then what have you taught Astana? What can you learn from them? Would you like to be starting 10 years later now, building something fresh with learning lessons from what you've learned?
Well,
take the microphone a little closer to you, Kenny.
Well, thank you, Nick, for the question. Your Excellency, I think in December 2015, we've signed the MOU with the Astana Financial Center, really to further enhance the collaborations between financial centers in the region or financial centers that are having the ambition to create something new from scratch. And I think from our side, what we can do at the DIFE is really go and explain what was the journey of the IFC and how we went about having a successful, international financial hub really in the middle of the desert. But it started really all the way back from the 80s when Dubai had really the fundamentals of establishing something we have today. For example, we started, Dubai is known for, its trade activity, and then we went on and maneuvered to be a logistic hub, and after that we saw tourism and transportation. So then the ambitions and the vision of His Highness was really to have a financial center that services the, the region and the wider region on a 24-hour basis, 7 times a week. And it was a journey for us, and for us to really be able to identify what did the financial community really want, and identify those needs. And the financial institutions out of the West were familiar with the common law, and we've opted to have a common law system being adopted here at the DIFC. It gives them grounds that they're really familiar with. They wanted infrastructure and lifestyle that is, something that they are used to attract the right talent and people to be here. And I think Dubai has provided that, and the DIFC, like no other destination in Dubai, has been able to cater to those needs. They wanted simplicity in doing business, so we established a one-stop solution. So in terms of registering your entity, or all the way to getting visas for yourself as an employee or an owner, all the way to your families. So making it really easy to do business. And then again, we have a court system, like Your Excellency mentioned, and a dispute resolution system that is at par with anything that you see around an unmatured international financial centers. So these are the things that we always talk about. These are the things we really like to share with other financial centers and people who are aspiring to build a global or a financial hub that will service the region.
What about blind alleys that you've been down here, which you would say, don't do that? What have been the yellow cards, the red cards, where inevitably in any development, you make mistakes of assessment, of calculation, and the realities change as well, not least on the digital front?
I think really looking at my, looking at the DIFC and our experience and our achievement, I just stepped out of our operating review this year, a few hours back, and we just talked about our results for 2015, and they were record-breaking. It was the highest numbers of entities established out of the DIFC. We had 309 new establishments opening right at the DIFC. We've had the largest amount of square footage being leased in the DIFC. So if there's any learning point behind that, I think really the track record of what we've done in the past 12 years has given us the results we see today. What we've done going forward is really to revise our strategy for another 10 years. So we've been able to build on the population mix, the entities that operate out of the DIFC. We've seen a lot of establishment already took place from the Western Hemisphere. Now we're focusing on the Miasa region and the South-South corridor, and we see traction on these, from these markets. So you have the Chinese banks operating out of the IFC. You have the Korean bank operating out of the IFC. So it's a global hub.
Is there now a clear model to be followed if you want to set up an IFC?
As the DIFC to be the clear
well,
model?
IFC, I'm not saying DIFC or Astana IFC. I'm just saying if you want to set up an IFC, is there a clear track and a clear number of ticks you have to indulge in?
Well, I think it's a journey, and I think naturally there'll be certain things that you'll have to do. And I think I just mentioned a few elements of them, having the international community being comfortable with the regulations and the laws you're actually introducing into the center. So we have the DFSA, which is a world-class regulator that is, an independent regulator that is at par with the likes in New York or in London or in Singapore or Hong Kong. And I think that brings comfort. So really, if there's something that we need to be doing, is really to ensure that we have world-class regulations that the community is really comfortable with.
Thank you. Anyone want to come in? I've got a couple of questions here, but anyone else want to come in? I'll raise the lights if you'd like, but please, if you want to ask any technical questions, do that. Right, what, Governor, have you learned from DIFC, which you'd like to share with us about the way you would like to do it in the way that DIFC hasn't done it?
Difficult question.
All right, well, think about the answer, and I'll ask you it in a different way.
Yeah,
What kind of barriers have you had within Kazakhstan setting this up, which have taken quite a bit of jumping over because of culture, because of law, because of politics?
Yeah, I mentioned that it's kind of difficult because we admired how with Dubai having the own legislation.
Could you just pull the microphone a little bit closer to you?
Having the own legislation, which were not based on common law, really implemented. We admired this approach to be client-oriented and to really to bring the world-class services and world-class regulation. And I think so these were barriers which we didn't implement yet in Kazakhstan, but I think we are on the way to deliver it. And the barriers were, let's say, to create really independent financial court. Now it's this initiative on place. The barriers were to create world-class regulation authority and the mentality, to change in mentality of the people that, so in order to be competitive international financial center, you really have to implement many reforms in your country. So I think in these terms, Dubai is a great example, and answer directly to your question, do we see any kind of problems or mistakes which we wouldn't, let's say, to repeat or so-called list not to do? No, but I think that both of us and all other financial centers, so coming back to your questions, are really will challenged by the digital transformation in the world.
In what sense?
In terms of the probably many businesses or many mechanisms, like, for example, traditional work of the stock change or the, let's say, online services for the people who now prefer work, let's say, not on the offices maybe, but at the home and through let's say, internet. So I think all of this now on place. We will see next 10 years really fantastic revolution on all of these services, which is based on big data revolution and then, let's say, digital, many digital changes, including so popular now blockchains, etc., which is completely changing the philosophy of the current business mind or current regulation.
Well, let me ask both of you. Let me ask you, Amir, the business of handling big data, the amount of bandwidth you need, the amount of capacity you're needing because of the enormity of the challenge now, the way it's growing exponentially at high speed, just handling data, not only handling data, but handling a massive data, which is almost more data than you need to know.
I think the level of information flow and data flow that any financial center will have to go through will be enormous. And one of the feedback that we continue to receive from our clients, the community that resides out of the DIFC, is that we need to do a little bit more to ensure that we're supporting their business to grow and to be able to attract the mid and even the back offices of each and every operation that really resides today in the DIFC, which these offices might be somewhere else. So in our span, actually in 2015, we've been able to really strategically sign an MOU with one of the telecom providers here in the UAE to really provide these additional services to our clients, really, to allow the global telecom charges, the connectivity charges, and the availability of service to be really second to none. And I'm really glad to see that the level of interest that came out of this has been phenomenal, and the traction we've got with our clients with regards to this offering has been really great. So it allows them to really be able to have these services and these flows of information and data at near global rates.
Because as you invest and as you build the capacity, what have you discovered about the speed at which the capacity needs to grow?
It's enormous. It's something that will always continue to be there. It's something we always need to be enhancing and developing. It's something that drives the business. If we are, for example, if we're looking at the fintech technologies to be, taking DIFC as a hub for them as well, the investment within the speed, the investment within the data capturing, within the technologies, the supports of transfer data will be really critical for success. And that's why we're not stopping there. In fact, we're in continuous dialogue with our stakeholders. We're in continuous dialogue with our clients to really understand their needs and be able to invest in that domain, whether directly or indirectly through our strategic partners.
Can I just also add, just clarify a little bit what I mean by digital transformation in my country, for example. So we could see in many countries that the technological revolution could really improve the economic inclusiveness. So let's see what happened in Kenya with fintech story about this M-Pesa example, where the country has no really enough banking accounts, but the penetration of the mobile system helped to really to develop this affordability of the financial services to the people. We also have the same problem in Kazakhstan, where penetration of the mobile system is much bigger rather than the access to the banking accounts. So, and we see the way how to solve this problem very fast and using the latest technologies. And at the same time, you mentioned is that it always should be forward-looking thinking. Because now, when we have all of these challenges and your favorite black swans, we have to be flexible enough to change the model and business plan immediately. We wouldn't like in AFC to replicate New York 70s or London 80s with all of these problems or mistakes, for example, and achievements. We have to know where the global world is going now, and we have to be on the place where would be the, let's say, the new achievements. So these are the, let's say, philosophy of our strategic mind.
Do you actually have dark moments when you think, is the demand for the AIFC significant, but we may not be able to meet it because we simply can't get the infrastructure and the bits in place with the capacity that's necessary?
Yeah, demand is already on place. That everybody in the world now talking about structural reforms, and we in Kazakhstan is also delivering a number of structural reforms. Mostly, most of them we will deliver it in AFC, and I think as faster we will prepare all of these responses to challenges, as more Kazakh economy or Central Asia economy will be more competitive. So these are, I think, we have in mind. And at the same time, sometimes there is a kind of skepticism that, okay, so we have all the historic financial center and there is no place for new player. I think this is the wrong approach, so it should be always attempt to do better, and we try to do better with AFC.
Anyone want to come in? There's a question here from Carfax Educational Group. Where are you, please? Carfax, maybe you could come to just the microphone. The reason is it's quite a detailed question, and you're going to ask it much better than me.
No, I was just wondering, my name is Alexander Nikitic. DIFC has inspired other international financial centers such as yours in Astana, or even to some extent Abu Dhabi Global Market down the road. Do you see other financial centers emerging within the CIS? And do you think Astana can become the hub, the main financial hub for the CIS? Thank you.
Yeah, because there's another question. The benefits of an IFC can be great. What is stopping other CIS nations from following Kazakhstan's example?
Yeah. So thank you very much for these questions. So again, usually people, when thinking, okay, where is the financial center in Europe? Definitely in London. But at the same time, there is a room for the other places, like, let's say, Frankfurt, like Luxembourg, like many others, with the particular niches. So even Dublin is also service hub, financial hub for the global economy. So in these terms, I think in a CIS region, so we have many opportunities, and development of Astana International Financial Center doesn't mean that we close the road to the other countries. So definitely some center would be in Moscow, or some center in the other countries. But I think that these are not like always should be competition, but it should be co-competition, like a cooperation and competition. And I think these centers could really help to each other. But again, I would like to to say that we are the only now country in CIS who first implemented the Anglo-Saxon rules, and I think for the global investors is really kind of a trigger.
Mr. Amiri, when you look at what's ahead, there was one thought, what's it going to be like in 10 years' time? I'd like to put to you 10 months, or 10 weeks even, because as we've just heard from the governor, things happen amazingly quickly. You've got to be smart, you've got to be nimble, you've got to worry about black swans. So give us an insight from your perspective as to what you see coming down the track, which maybe are not unthinkables to some people, but you need to be thinking about, because it's easy to say what's it going to be like in 5 or 10 years, but actually remember what it was like 5 or 10 years ago. Much of what we take for granted wasn't there 5 or 10 years ago. So what are you having to do in terms of capacity and broadening your perspective of what might be coming down the track?
Well, Nick, thank you for asking this question. Mid of 2015, the DIFC really looked at, where we need to be in the next 10 years. And really, we've announced our 2024 strategy, really. And the 2024 strategy was really to focus in terms of the areas we want to grow at. So there were 3 main pillars. And those 3 main pillars stem from the objective that we really want to triple in size in the next 10 years. And that will come from really building or focusing on 3 main elements. Element number 1 will be really to deepen our core, meaning deepening our core, meaning doing more and allowing more of our clients to do more out of the DIFC. And that means enhancement of regulations and making it easy for them to do business. So that means smart technologies. It means, further enhancement of the one-stop shop concept and making it really simple for people to do business. Second, it was really looking at the South-South corridor, which I spoke about, and the markets we see growth coming from. Third was the element of really having a global relevance, which means, we're going to focus on things like Islamic finance, and the close alignment between family offices and asset management, and so on and so forth. And of course, with that will come the infrastructure. The infrastructure means, the hard stuff that we see in the DIFC district, in addition to the laws and regulation that stems out of the DIFC. The challenges will be there, but when I look at my pipeline or the growth that we had in January of 2016, in fact, the pipeline looks much stronger than the pipeline we've seen in January 2015. So we're in a very good position, but do we take things for granted? No. We will be working, we'll be considering all the changing variables, whether it be the growth rates in different markets or the fluctuating oil prices or whatever it may be. But we just announced our strategy and our achievements against the strategy, even January itself, proves evidence that we're going in the right direction.
But let me just mention one critical issue, cybersecurity. Because, I was at the World Economic Forum in Davos just under a month ago, and I was party to a behind closed doors discussion among people, all of whom you will know, but who are really expressing deep concern about this. They felt they had it under control a year ago. Now they're worried that governments are not engaging enough, and it's not seen as quite as critical as it needs to be. And I say that because ultimately the future of an international financial center depends on confidentiality and acute adherence to the business of maintaining privacy and good records which are never, ever hacked. What is your experience here in Dubai?
Well, throughout the DIFC, like any international financial jurisdiction, we have the data protection law. So that means, we're very conscious about, ensuring that there is utmost secrecy or data protection, ensuring that there is no hacking, and we have the right systems in place to ensure.
But I've got to interrupt. Do you fear, though, that the new digital reality is going well beyond laws at the moment? Because laws always are well behind reality.
Well, to be honest with you, I'm not so sure I'll use the word, I'll be fearful about it. I think, we've seen a lot of the individuals who are pushing the technology front, collaborating with the regulators to ensure whatever they actually introduce is actually beneficial to the market. So, and in fact, I was in one of the council meetings talking about a new technology that we're looking to introduce from this region, but you have the regulator there, you have the people who are pushing the technology in the same table. So I'm not so fearful about it, but there has to be a mindset of accepting that there could be a different solution out there to create better working environment and working solutions for everybody.
Do you have a mindset which accepts you may have to face a shock at some point? A shock, some kind of cyber shock at some point?
I think we will see many cyber shocks in the future, because now this fast development of big data, fast development of any technologies which are in fast development of fintech will create the great opportunities for cybercrime, which is also very innovative business.
Is there a danger of complacency?
Yes, and I think we will see it on very low scale right now, but we will see it is much more scale, and because we all every day try to be online and always be in our businesses. So I think the response to the cybersecurity also should be technological. I think that, let's say, some of the blockchain mechanisms is also quite, some crypto protection is also first response to this, but we will see many challenges, definitely.
But do you fear that you're in competition with the cyber crooks who are watching how you are trying to set up this center?
I think it will be kind of a global response to this. On our regional level, we will also try to be on the same page with the latest responses.
Okay, one final question, just in before we finish. Can the DIFC and Dubai compete with Hong Kong and London for raising investment capital? If so, how?
Raising investments?
Raising investment capital.
Capital.
Can you compete with London and Hong Kong?
I mean, if we look at the DIFC and we started comparing ourselves to Hong Kong, Singapore, we're a very young financial center. We're there, we've been established since 12 years, but despite that, we've been able to achieve quite a lot. And, there has been many achievements. And one of the achievements that I can really proudly say that the Nasdaq Dubai, who's housed within the DIFC, is the #1 globally ranked sukuk listing within the world. So we've been able to achieve great milestones. Now, are we in competition? I'm not so sure we are. I think the financial center model really works in terms of complementing one another, cooperating together, and really learning from one another. And when we look at our sister country, Kazakhstan, it's all about collaboration and the ability to complement one another. So that's the way I look at it.
And Governor, final question to you. Where do you think you'll be in 10 years? Where will you be in the ratings?
We would like to be in top 10 in Asia, let's say.
In Asia. All right. Governor
And by the
Kelembeto.
way, I think that it should be not only like a 1D vision on this. So it should, in 3D vision on this, I think it shouldn't be competition between just big global centers, but it could be kind of competition, big global center with a networking of the smaller centers. And I think we consider it DIFC like a partner to together, to cooperate, to compete with the other centers as well.
Could that be ahead of Dubai in 10 years' time? Ahead of Dubai?
We try to do our best.
We look forward to reviewing that in a 3 or 4 years' time. Both of you, thank you very much indeed. And before you all go, can I just tell you, thank you very much indeed for being patient. We're a little over time, but thank you for participating so actively. And we've some great speakers tomorrow. Stuart Panin of HP will end the day talking about the future of global supply chains, which all of you will be concerned about. There'll be drinks outside now on the terrace, and the gala dinner will be in here at 7 o'clock, to which you are all invited. Thank you both very much indeed for ending the day so brilliantly. Thank you.